Good day, my friends. Welcome back. Episode 3 of the Halo TV show released this morning, and it was kind of weird. My thoughts are a little bit all over the place with this. This season, broadly speaking, is definitely proving to be a lot better than season 1. It's still carrying a lot of the baggage from that season, which we'll talk about later, but there are bits in this that are like showing some signs of promise, I will say, which is one of the weird things, but at the same time, there's still some really dumb stuff. Let's talk about it. So the episode opens with Silver Team going to investigate the Visegrad relay station where Cobalt Team, that really obnoxious group of supposedly Spartan 2s that didn't behave at all like Spartan 2s from the last episode, were sent to supposedly do some engineering work, but the real reason is that the Covenant were there, as they were in Reach. We know this already, but the top brass at Fleetcom either already knew about it and didn't want to say anything, or didn't actually believe it and refused to acknowledge it. Either way, kind of weird, but again, either way, squared. The Covenant are at the Visegrad relay station, so Silver Team go AWOL for the first time this episode. That happens again, and they go and investigate it. And I gotta say, the kind of approach to Visegrad was actually really good. I love the theming of the whole like approach through the dark forest and then across the ridgeline to Visegrad. It looked really aesthetic, actually well shot and well lit, or well, it wasn't well lit, but that looks kind of good. It was very gloomy and very atmospheric. It seemed like they were going for a kind of horror vibe with the whole like raid on the Visegrad relay station, which again, I actually really like. When Silver Team get there, the whole thing's abandoned. There are traces that people were once there, but no one is there. None of the crew are there. No sign of Cobalt Team, nothing at all. There's even a scene in Visegrad where Silver Team are clearing it as quietly as they can, and the Spartans actually use hand signals, which is really cool. Oh my god, they're using hand signals. No way, they're actually using hand signals. That's quite cool. But before they can investigate any further into Visegrad, they're just about to go through this one door that's like very ominously kind of slamming open and shut, creating this very ominous background banging, and then a bunch of like Fleetcom soldiers show up, like Oni/Fleetcom soldiers, very high-ranking soldiers. But these guys, again, looked really cool. They kind of reminded me of the Onyx guards from Gears 3 and also Gears 5. If you guys know what they look like, I'll put a picture on the screen here. They really reminded me of Onyx guards. I've kind of wanted to see for a while now what Oni kind of personnel, like militarized personnel, would look like, and obviously they aren't Spartans, and this is what they look like, and I kind of like it, honestly. They're almost like half Marine, half Halo 2 ODST. But of course, we get a little bit teased here before Chief and Silver Team can go any further into Visegrad. Fleetcom take them back to the, I guess it's Reach City on Reach, isn't it? Take them back to Reach City because they went AWOL and they shouldn't have gone to Visegrad because Fleetcom don't want people to find out that the Covenant are on Reach for some reason. But then don't worry, we go to the rubble. Everyone's favorite place in the TV show. Oh god, no, not more of this, please. Oh, can we not? Can we just drop this whole storyline? Please, I'm begging you, Paramount, drop it. This plot is so, even though it's on the rubble, it's so far removed from like anything Halo. I really wish they'd just drop it. There's a scene where Quan ambushes Soren's wife, I forgot what her name is, and I don't know where this has come from. Quan all of a sudden has these like next level CQC skills. She's like bloody Naked Snake now. She's got big boss tier CQC skills.
I can't believe this.
And this isn't even the only time this happens in the episode, but the way that Quan takes her down is like literally big boss style. Like it's like what Naked Snake's doing in MGS3, dude. Like I don't understand where this is all coming from in like 6 months. Anyways, going back to Reach City, of course, we actually get quite an endearing scene where Ackerson is with his father, who has clearly dementia, and he's talking to him because his father was one of Reach's architects, and his daughter, it turns out, was a Spartan 2 washout who died. So Ackerson's sister in this timeline was a Spartan 2 washout who died. That's also what the Flash clone was in episode 1 and also this episode. After being questioned by Keyes about why they went AWOL, Blue Team kind of confront Blue Team. That's a Freudian slip. Silver Team kind of confront Chief, and this whole scene here, even though Chief was acting more like Chief in that like his overall motives were more like Chief in the regular timeline, the actual characterization of Chief in this show is still just so far removed from anything that Chief is like in the regular timeline. Like, it's so, like, I would honestly say that Vanak, Kai, and Riz all kind of resemble Spartans in the regular timeline. They feel characterized like Spartans. Chief still doesn't at all. Like, this is just not, I don't know what character they're trying to write here, but it sure as hell is not Master Chief, I can tell you that. We find out that Cobalt team are dead. Shock horror, they were killed by extreme plasma burns around the Visegrad relay station. Who would have seen that one coming? Keyes says that it's time to initiate the winter contingency, which did sound kind of cool to hear in the show, I'm not gonna lie. Akison wants to basically evac Reach and leave it to burn because he thinks that it's lost, but at the same time, Keyes is the complete opposite. He wants to stay and fight for it, and he strongly disagrees with Akison's plan to basically get HVTs and VIPs off the planet before it's destroyed, because Akison is basically dead set on Reach being doomed at this point. He wants to try and live to fight another day, whereas Keyes wants to stay and defend it. We get our first tease of the Spartan 3s in this episode when Akison's talking to Halsey in that like simulation prison thing. I can't remember the exact words that he used, and obviously I can't play them on screen because of copyright, but he basically talks about continuing her work kind of in his own image, which is the Spartan 3s, of course. Akison was the brain behind the Spartan 3s to rival Halsey's Spartan 2s. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm actually really looking forward to seeing the Spartan 3s in this, because we've seen a few clips in trailers of how they're gonna operate. And I don't know, there's something really cool about seeing them on the field as well as Spartan 2s. Granted, the one thing I'm not too keen on is the fact that they're kind of, a lot of people have said this before, but they're kind of, treating them like the clone army in Attack of the Clones. But then again, the Spartan 3s were more expendable than the Spartan 2s. And actually, on the note of them being expendable, deuterium was noticed, the fuel source that the Covenant used to fuel their ships. That was mentioned in this episode. I think they used it to fuel their ships. Either way, it was mentioned. And deuterium was the cause of Beta Company getting absolutely annihilated. So, long story short, if you don't know, there's an operation called Operation Torpedo, where Beta Company, which was comprised of, was it 300 Spartan 3s, I think, was basically sent to raid this deuterium mine that the Covenant had to destroy it and cripple their fuel reserves. And the mine explodes, but it kills like almost the entirety of Beta Company. So literally almost 300 Spartan 3s just get wiped out like that. And I'm really hoping that they do Operation Torpedo in this. I don't think they will do, but I'm hoping they do, because that would be kind of a cool way to show how the UNSC and the top brass treat the Spartan 3s compared to the Spartan 2s. I don't know. I'm going to stay hopeful, but I don't think we're going to get it. So on the topic of deuterium, Soren's wife, his son Kessler, and Quan want to leave the rubble and go and look for Soren, and they hijack a ship and they almost make it out of the rubble, but then someone closes the bay door and they get locked in. But Soren's wife basically takes the fall for it and gets captured by Soren's ex-crew, who are the space pirates, and they start questioning her and interrogating her to find out the location of some treasure, which to them is actually deuterium. She never gives up the location of it, presumably because it doesn't exist. So they put her in the airlock and they start the timer to the airlock depressurizing, and when it hits 0, of course, then she's gonna lose oxygen and die. But then don't worry, out of nowhere, Venom Quan comes out of nowhere. What should we call her? Venom Quan? Big Quan doesn't have a good ring to it. There's Venom Quan or Solid Quan. I'm gonna call it Venom Quan. Venom Quan comes out of nowhere and literally kills every single one of these armed space pirates on her own with nothing but a knife.
Just tell me what I want to know.
Let me guess, it's Quan has come back with her big boss tier CQC skills. Oh, would you look at that? It's Venom Quan. How can she suddenly take out like an entire group of pirates just on her own? I don't understand where she's gotten this like crazy, literally like Venom Snake tier CQC abilities. Where's this come from? This season is only set 6 months after season 1. And 6 months ago, in season 1, she was some blubbering teenage fool, like walking around some distant outer colony looking for drugs before seeing her friends get vaporized by the Covenant. And now she has like big boss tier CQC skills. I don't quite get it. I'm not sure where this has come from. I'm not sure what they taught her on the rubble. It's quite confusing and very inconsistent with her character, to put it lightly. Thankfully, that was the last time we went to the rubble in this episode. So back to good old-fashioned Reach City in Reach. Chief once again goes AWOL after incapacitating the 2 only bodyguards that were assigned to him to keep him in check. I'm not gonna lie, there's a scene in an elevator that's a bit like that scene in, is it, what Captain America movie was it? Was it Winter Soldier, where he like takes out all those guys in the elevator. It was a little bit like that. Also a little bit reminiscent of what Chief does to those ODSTs in the boxing ring in the regular canon. Basically almost kills them. So he takes them out, and then for the second time this episode, Chief goes AWOL, and he goes to look for Talia Perez again, which is the Marine from episode 1, who we encountered the Covenant with, and she basically sat in a church. She doesn't know what to do because she's heard this this radio signal that she recorded on Sanctuary in episode 1 of an elite who is supposedly saying a prayer. Now, I will be honest, this elite sounds kind of stupid. He sounds like Jabba the Hutt. He doesn't sound like an elite at all, but the actual prayer itself, again, I can't play it on screen, but the prayer itself was quite cool, actually. Like, it was overlaid over a bunch of footage of certain VIPs being secretly escorted off Reach by FleetCom, because obviously they know the Covenant are on Reach, but they don't want to alarm the colony, so they're only evacing like high-value targets and VIPs at that time. And it's overlaid over all the footage of, like, for example, Ackerson being evac'd off Reach. And it's this elite talking about the Great Journey, about burning human worlds to glass, about the sacred rings as well. It mentions the sacred rings, which is pretty cool. And then right at the end of the prayer, a massive explosion goes off, the church caves in, and the Covenant are on Reach. Episode ends. So it wasn't terrible. Like I said at the start, this season is absolutely better than season 1. It's nowhere near the quality that we should be getting from a Halo show. I'm not going to sit here and say that it is. You know what? I kind of wish with this season, they would literally have just dropped everything that's not on Reach or Covenant related and just focused on the fall of Reach. And then instead of all those side plot lines, had a plot line kind of like Halo 2 within the Covenant. So we get a better insight, or I mean, we know what the Covenant are like, but so like the general audience get a better insight as to what the inner workings of the Covenant are like, and that it's not this like breezy, crazy religion. There's actually a lot of inner workings there. There's a lot of grey area stuff. There's a lot of disagreements. And I really wish that the show would focus on that over these stupid, unnecessary space pirate plot lines on the side. Because, like, dude, every time we go to the rubble, I audibly sigh. Nothing about that story arc at all resembles Halo. Like, you could cut that out of the Halo show and put it in almost any other sci-fi show and it would be perfectly at home. The Reach stuff, not really, no, because that's obviously very Halo, but all the Rebel stuff is taking up space that could be filled by so many more interesting and meaningful and high-value plot lines that would add more to the overall story, because as soon as Reach gets glassed, none of that Rebel stuff matters. That's all completely irrelevant. But if instead of the Rebel, they did like a Halo 2 style Covenant side of the story, then when Reach is getting glassed, that story would be relevant, because all the things that we saw go off within the Covenant would still be going off, but they'd be playing into the events that are happening on Reach, and it'd make you look at the Covenant's invasion of Reach in a different way. But I don't know, I'm kind of talking into the wind there, because obviously the entire season has been recorded and they're not listening to my feedback in the slightest, so that is what it is. Anyway, episode 3 of the TV show was alright. A lot of it was filler, but it was alright. It was alright. I think the next episode will actually be quite good, because I remember reading that episode 4 has like, it's shot in one take. Obviously it's not a 50-minute episode in one actual take, but it's done kind of like how 1917 was done, where the entire movie was shot in such a way that it made you think it was one continuous take, or like the scene at the end of episode 4 of True Detective season 1, which is still an absolute masterpiece, where Rust and Marty invade that like neighborhood. Long story, I'm not going to explain the story of True Detective season 1 to you. If you haven't watched it, go and watch it. But yeah, so hopefully that'll be pretty keynote. We'll have to wait and see. But yeah, I've been bumbling on for ages now. Let's run this one out here. Thank you all for watching. I really appreciate it. And I'll catch you all in the next proper video next week sometime. See you later.